Alright guys, it is my first qualifying day with the E36 here at Driftmasters. I was an idiot and I dropped my camera yesterday, so shout out to Drift Games for loaning me one of their cameras. They didn't have an extra mic, so if the audio quality is not the best, I apologize. Start of the day, let's head out to grid, get our first practice lap in. And as you'll see, we had a problem.
You don't have any sponsor stickers. Why?
What do you mean?
Out of the car?
Yeah.
You got the envelope from Harriet, yes? With the... I don't have it. Okay. Only the smoke. Yeah,
yeah. So here at Driftmasters, one thing that's different than FD is you actually have to put some of the event sponsors on your car. I didn't know that, so they made me go back to put the stickers on my car. Just little things like this, but they actually did us a massive favor because when we went back to go put the stickers on the car, it turned out one of the bolts on the VVTi cam gear loosened up and the car was just puking oil. So had I not come back to put those stickers on, probably would have either cost me a motor or I would have put a lot of oil down on the track. So everything happens for a reason, but it did cost us a little bit of practice time. First lap was amazing, but I'm sure you guys could probably tell we got a really big problem, and that's that the cabin fills up with a ridiculous amount of smoke. I think a combination of the tires that they run out here, plus the fact that this is my first car with windows, sometimes if you don't have a really perfect seal in the cabin, you'll get smoke inside, and then when you don't have windows, it can go out. So I couldn't really see, so that's definitely something we're gonna have to address. But I will say, that lap, first lap in the car, hooked up like crazy, by far one of the fastest thing I've ever done in a drift car. It felt ridiculous. I'm actually gonna see if we can pull up some G data to see what kind of G's we were pulling, but like, that was another world compared to anything I've ever done in a drift car. But the good news is, it would have been a decent qualifying lap, my first lap out, so feeling pretty good about that. Let's go see if we can get some G data from the ECU. Jason's got the link ECU pulled up, but unfortunately we weren't logging the G data, but we'll have it for future runs.
We will add it right now.
Yeah, a lot of track people probably will be very surprised at how many G's a drift car pulls.
Absolutely. So we'll get that set up and get it calibrated on your next quali run. I'll be able to pull that data back. And then as you add physical grip in it, we'll be able to monitor what we're getting on the G side of it. So
That'll be
I think it'll
pretty
be a
cool.
really cool piece of data to add.
Sick.
Cool.
So which bolt was it?
This one, our power adder.
Wow.
So this is the VVTi solenoid. This bolt, it has a rubber gasket. It pretty much seals the oil containing inside the cam gear, and that's what builds up the pressure to change the angle on the cam. Car came back to get stickers on. It saw an oil leak. Right as I come back, it started dripping oil. So it just like, it happened at the right time,
I know.
right second.
I'm glad that we didn't know the stickers
Yeah.
on the car.
The guy came out, he's like, oh, this happened yesterday. I was like, no, sir. I'm not gonna send a car looking like that. It was
Yeah.
a big leak in here and there was no trail coming in.
Yeah.
So it literally happened at the best time.
Yeah.
We put the stickers on, put it back in, check oil, send it out. We didn't have no noises. It's good to go. So now we're just cleaning up the residual. It's really hard to get to everything. So it's good.
entire car. Kill switch is not working or doing anything. I lined up against Kevin Quinn, actually in the same S15 that I drove here for LZ World Tour, so you know I was ready to put down a heater, but I went to go initiate, came off the handbrake, got on the gas, boom, car shut off. So that first little hit, not too bad, just some little scuffs in the rear, but I'll show you what was the culprit of shutting the car off. Like I said, all these things you find when you have a new car. This little plug that goes to the kill switch mechanism basically just slid out ever so slightly, and it killed all the power to the car. So they were able to figure that out with the power probe. Got a zip tie on it now, so it should be good, but one of those things. I guess that's what practice is for. It sucks if that happened in a battle or a competition. They'd probably cry. First chase felt pretty solid. I think the only thing that I'm kind of on the fence about is changing wheel speed. I felt like I was able to keep up really good in the first half of the track, but towards the end, I kind of get close to vehicle speed matching wheel speed, which I think is where I start to get a little gap pulled on me, but I got plenty of car and I was able to catch up. So to get my first chase in the dry out of the way, feeling pretty good. Definitely room for improvement, but it's nice to know that we're at least in the pack and able to Even with one window off, the smoke was still a massive problem, so I think we're gonna need to pull both windows off and then we'll just put them back into the wet. The only disadvantage of that is I just need to wear armor restraints if there's no windows on the car, but I think that's a much easier solution than trying to seal every single hole in the car. I literally couldn't see that next zone and wound up missing it, and I don't want that to happen during competition. I feel like I got my initiation pretty good and my timing was good on transition. I'm just really trying to figure out kind of the best front to rear grip balance in this car. It is pretty different than my US car, and I wound up just having to slow down too fast and the car kind of pivoted around the front, which resulted in a spin. So definitely going to make sure I avoid that, but every lap we're figuring out more with the car. I'm not gonna lie, I feel pretty good going into qualifying. I really only got one complete lead in the dry. My other one, I had that weird issue where I couldn't see. Yeah, the good news is I've had plenty of laps on this track. It might rain, which might actually play to my advantage since I have more lead laps in the rain, but yeah, it's definitely been one of those practices where I'm really using my brain and really processing a lot of new, but given all the things that have been going on, still got my head in a good spot and still ready to have some fun. So I say that it's fast and I say that it's ridiculous, but I'm going to try to equate it to a typical person, one of you guys. I'm sure you guys know tires. I'm sure you guys can imagine what weight of a car feels like. This car is 400 pounds lighter than my E36 in the US. It's got more weight in the rear, so it has more traction from that. And imagine going from like a sporty summer tire to a racing slick. That's the difference between the US car and this car. It is an absolute ridiculous machine. And that's the best way that I can equate it, but we'll But I'm gonna try to get some G data so we can actually show you like how ridiculous it is. Found a lot of things on the car, made a lot of small changes, but they should add up to make the car feel better. Unfortunately for practice, we're going out with patchy conditions. We're 9th up, so at least we'll get to see the runs before. And then Ginge, my spotter, will be able to tell me where there's smoke, and that'll give me an indication of where the track is dry and where it's wet.
To a man we didn't see at round 1. There was a crash, a ship and a bridge. It delayed a container.
Yeah, so
well, here we are.
Adam LZ missing Spain, getting his car here a couple of weeks ago, getting it all prepped during the week, having some issues, it must be said, in practice with a water pump and a couple of little bits and pieces, just having some gremlins with the car. Brand new car. They finished this car 30 minutes before it was put in a container in Florida and sent to Europe. And let's see how Adam LZ gets on his first patchy run in Mondello Park. Fires into that first corner. And this is pretty steady for LZ. Big lock of the front wheel, taking out the cone. A little bit of understeer as he comes through the first corner, but does manage to keep it under control, put it back on some throttle, falling out of that outer zone slightly as he transitions back. Now he's got to go for the wall to climb some points back here, and he does. Sends it into the wall. Full carbon Kevlar E36 2JZ, 800 plus horsepower, and he does a good job. But that initiation, very similar to some other drivers, a little bit of a waver and a little bit of understeer, and that's because there's so much grip in the rear of the car, and the track where the front tires are going through has less rubber on it, so it's a bit of a sketchy initiation, and LZ making a couple of mistakes there.
Yeah, you could see the way the car washed there after initiation. It kind of wanted to drive straight. It's like the rear wheels are majorly overpowering the front wheels. It just didn't have the grip, pushed him across, but he recovered from it, and I'd say the second half of the run was way, way cleaner. Look at this as he fires in across this. Very nice, right to the edge of the circuit on that white line, picks up the wall, beautiful into that outside zone, full throttle straight away, no big clutch kicks, no messing around, into it, up to the wall, looks for that final outside zone and full throttle. We get a real judge here of how close he was to the wall. I mean, we're talking 8-9 inches there, Dave.
Yeah, and it's a brand new out the box, beautiful car that has every single thing done.
It's the catalogue, right?
It's the catalogue. It's a 2024 BMW as far as I'm concerned, because everything is brand new on the car. However, this is their first weekend in Europe with the car. The team's saying they're still ironing out the setup. They're still ironing out a few little things they want to get right with it. And you're straight into competition. You know, for LZ, he doesn't get a test day. A couple of days, he just arrives, has to drive the car how it is, and do all that work at the track. So trying to suck in, but a 64 on the board means there will need to be improvements for LZ on the second run. But again,
I played the rain game wrong. We were going off the other runs where there wasn't really much smoke on entry, and the last thing I wanted to do was go flying off course. So I came in there a little bit too slow, wound up super inside on the first corner. That combined with my wheel speed being better suited for rain, the car just pushed a little bit. The line was all wrong in the first half of the course, so I lost a lot of points, and it's definitely not going to get me into the show. So we're going to have to definitely lay down a heater for the second lap to make sure we get qualified, but not stoked. But just part of the luck of the draw. I mean, half the qualifying people could be getting a downpour that might be happening in the next 15 minutes, so maybe it's better that I got the patchy conditions, maybe it's not. We'll see.
With the pressure off his shoulders is James Dean, and a man with the pressure on his shoulders is Adam LZ. First run puts him in 40th position. 64 was on his first run. He struggled in the conditions. Now it's full wet. Let's see what LZ, the first American to take on the Driftmasters Championship. A lot of pressure on this run.
Yeah, certainly is, as he slots his car through the gears, dials on the angle. Oh, front bumper flexes. Oh, no! And LZ puts it on the grass.
I think that was definitely a case of going a little too hot into the first corner. And again, look at the scores coming in. You've got to do it. There's no safe runs anymore.
No, you
put it all on the line.
You need to push, David. We're going to be at an 80-plus cut-off in a minute, and LZ knew he had to pull it out of the bag. He had to perform, and unfortunately, that is the fine line that James Dean just spoke about. It either works or it doesn't work. You have to risk it.
I think you have to risk it, and then it's, as you said, it goes one way or the other. And I think we've had James Dean in the wall yesterday. We've had LZ now take, and again, watch this, just loses the back end of the car, and it just happens in an instant, and that's the problem. And I think LZ knows himself. Right about here, that's going to be tough to bring back.
Yeah, look, he's on the lock stops, and look how relaxed he is. He's like, there's no saving this at this point. Oh man, it will be a 0 for Adam LZ on his second qualifying run. No improvement whatsoever.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this weekend they said a lot of kinks in the car they needed to work out.
Thank you guys. Well, not the way we wanted to go, but you know, might as well have a Guinness while in Ireland.
Yeah, Ireland. Peace, Coke.
Of course I'm bummed, but I don't really regret driving how I did. It was one of those scenarios where everyone was putting down such fire lead runs that I was like, I gotta do a big snap and try to get some serious angle, or if I do a little handbrake, I'm probably not gonna qualify. So I went for it. It was too much and there was just no saving it. So you live and you learn. It sucks since I've done really well on this track in the past, and I was, you know, I don't want to sound cocky and say I was planning to win, but of all the rounds, like having a lot of seat time at this track, knowing the chassis, I was holding myself very high for this round. But all things considering, I think even just talking to the teams, it seems like everyone had a lot of issues in Spain because everyone else was working out their new car jitters. Their Spain was our Ireland. I gotta give a massive appreciation to the guys, man. They've been through hell and back with this car. It's a new car and it's great, but there's just a lot of new with it, and with a lot of new requires a lot of working through things. You know, the Blue E36 is working so great because we've had multiple years under our belt with it now, to where we've been able to work through all the weird stuff. But this one, I feel really good about it. It was super cool having Lee here helping out, Jason from Link, and of course Johan and Owen, and then having Ginch here spotting as well. Couldn't ask for a better team, and I think we're set up pretty good to go to Finland. There's a couple more things I want to try on the US car that should set us up pretty good for Finland. But we're basically going to spend the rest of the day kind of going through a list, coming up with a plan of attack, and we're going to turn the car around in Ireland before heading to Finland, just because it's easier here with resources and shops. That way in Finland we're not trying to do a bunch of stuff before the round. So I will actually be going to Ultra Race. I'm going to be driving a car from CNC 71, just like a low cool E36, nothing super fancy, and then hanging out there for a little bit, making a little trip out of it, and then going straight to Finland, and that's right after E-Town. So it's going to be heavy in the traveling this next month. So anything you guys want to see, I know you guys give me really good feedback when it comes to these videos, whether it's competition, traveling, you name it. And I'll do my best to make it happen. Yeah, I make these videos for you guys, so please give me feedback, and I will always do what I can for y'all. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed our not so great first Driftmasters in the E36, but I think after driving this car, it's an absolute weapon, and I think we've definitely got a winning car because speed is not a problem. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.
When you said